Welcome back, everyone, to our last episode of season 4 of the Truth and Freedom podcast, where awakening begins with asking the question most people are afraid to ask. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Zalag, and this is not just another podcast. This is a journey into awareness, courage, and truth. Growth rarely announces itself as loss, but that's often how it arrives. Not because you did something wrong, not because you became arrogant or distant, but because growth changes the agreement you once lived by. When you evolve, you stop participating in a dynamic that once felt normal. You speak more honestly. You set clearer boundaries. You require reciprocity, and not everyone is willing or able to meet you there. Most relationships aren't built on conscious alignment. They're built on familiarity, shared history, and unspoken rules. When you grow, you disrupt those rules. You no longer play the role people expect. You stop overgiving, over-explaining, or shrinking to maintain connection. And for those who benefited from the old version of you, that change can feel like rejection, even when it's simply self-respect. On this podcast, we don't frame this as superiority or abandonment. We frame it as integrity. Integrity means your inner values and outer behavior begins to match. And when that happens, relationships that depended on misalignment naturally fall away. Not out of cruelty, but out of incompatibility. Losing people during growth is painful because it touches something ancient, the fear of exile. Humans are wired for belonging. So when evolution threatens connection, the nervous system sounds the alarm. It tells you to go back, to soften, to make yourself easier. And sometimes you do, not because it's right, but because loneliness feels heavier than self-betrayal in the moment. But self-betrayal always charges interest. It shows up as resentment, exhaustion, and a quiet grief for the life you're not fully living. Growth asks you to choose which pain you're willing to carry, the pain of outgrowing or the pain of staying misaligned. Our engaged listeners like you already know this choice. You felt the shift when conversations stopped resonating, when silence replaced depth, when being understood requires you to edit yourself. And you probably try to bridge the gap, to explain your growth, to bring others along, to slow yourself down. But growth doesn't work that way. You can invite, but you cannot drag. Integrity is not cutting people off. It's about letting people be where they are while you stay where you are. It's about honoring history without sacrificing your future. And that requires emotional maturity, especially when love and loyalty are involved. This podcast exists to remind you that loss during growth doesn't mean you're failing. It often means you're telling the truth more consistently. You're no longer negotiating your values for comfort. You're allowing your life to reflect who you're becoming, not who you needed to be survived. And while growth can feel lonely, it also creates space. Space for relationships that don't require performance. Space for connection rooted in mutual respect, not obligations. Space for people who meet you as you are, not as you were. So if you're grieving people you have outgrown, let that grief be clean. Don't weaponize it. Don't romanticize the past. And don't shame yourself for choosing integrity over familiarity. Growth doesn't guarantee applause, but it does guarantee alignment. Stay here. Stay honest. Stay willing to let go without bitterness. Because the price of integrity is not loss, it's freedom. So as we close this powerful season, I truly hope you found the conversation as enlightening and meaningful as my team and I have. We're already preparing season 5 with even deeper, thought-provoking content designed to challenge your perspective and help you navigate life's uncertainties with greater clarity and strength. The truth is, no doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist, or counselors can completely remove the pain that life sometimes brings. There's no miracle pill that guarantees permanent peace or relief. Whether rich or poor, strong or struggling, every human being must eventually confront their own mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical battles. None of us are immune to that reality. But remember this: whatever storm you're facing today will not last forever. Difficult seasons pass, and resilience grows through the struggle. That is why giving up on what truly matters should never be an option. Every decision you make from this moment forward shapes the direction of the life you're building. You, my friends, are the captain of your own ship. You determine its direction, its speed, and its destination. Never hand the wheel, the sails, or the engine over to someone else. The moment you surrender the power, you surrender control of your own life. Stand firm, be intentional, be courageous, and above all, remain the one who steers your own journey. See you all for our next season.